Welcome to Civilian Jeeps. I'm Jake, and today we're at the back of the property with my 2005 Jeep TJ Unlimited, also known as the LJ, and it is the Rubicon trim. Now, if you know these Jeeps, you know that TJs, they made about 950,000 of them in the production year from 97 to 2006. Now, from 04 to 06, they had the Unlimited model of the TJ, and those were called the LJs, and they made roughly around 50,000 of them. Now, in 05 and 06, they made what's called the LJ Rubicon as a trim you can get, and there's said to be around 13,000 LJ Rubicons in production, and I'm sure there's fewer actually in existence today because of just wrecks and rusting away and all that good stuff. So it took me a while to find this Jeep, and I have made a video on this Jeep in the past, but it's kind of outdated now. It's a few years old because I've owned this for 3 years, and I've not really updated what all I've done to it, and I've done quite a bit. So let's go ahead and talk about this Jeep, what all I've done to it, and let's hop right into it. So this one is what's known as Impact Orange. It's paint code PV5, and they made, from my record searching online, they made about 600 of them from 05 to 06. So it's a pretty rare Jeep to begin with, and then you have a pretty rare paint code. And in 05, I believe they made about 160 of them in a 6-speed, the NSG 370, which is what this Jeep has. Now, I would say that was in 05, so I'd say there's about that in 06 as well. So about half, about 300 are out there. You know, whether they're actually still out there, I don't know. But they produced 300 NSG 370 6-speed Impact Orange LJ Rubicon. So that's why it took me 2 years to find this one. And if you watched the previous video, you know that when I got this, it had some issues. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the issues that it had and what I've done to remedy those issues. Now, whenever I first got it, the engine had really bad heat soak, and it only had 60 some odd thousand miles, I think around 68,000 whenever I got it. So I knew it couldn't be anything too terrible, but it ended up being a heat soak issue with the injectors, and this DEI heat shield ended up fixing that, but I also had a lot of cooling issue problems. So I just threw money at it, thinking, you know, eventually I'd figure out why it would overheat so bad. I mean, it would almost constantly stay around 225, 230, and I just couldn't get it below 210, which on these 4.0s, they like to run a little hot, but I didn't want to cut a louver in the hood and all that stuff. So I just kept trying to figure out what the cooling issue might be. Well, I ended up doing the clutch fan, the actual fan itself. I replaced it, and then the radiator was a new CSF radiator, so it was aftermarket. And then I had the the flow cooler water pump. I put that on, and then a new tensioner, a new belt, a new thermostat. I mean, I just kept going down the line, replacing everything in the cooling system, and it was still overheating. I just couldn't figure it out. Well, ended up being the radiator, the CSF radiator. It's people on forums like, you got to go with Mopar. And I was like, you know, why do I need to go with Mopar on this Jeep when aftermarket radiators seem to work just fine? I mean, I don't hear about anybody having issues with them. Well, it turns out they were right. The Mopar radiator, I mean, just quality wise, was way better quality. And as soon as I put it in, this thing, it never goes past 210. I mean, I got 37s on it, and I towed my little overland trailer, and it does not go over 210 degrees. So if somebody's telling you that it's just normal for a 4.0 to go over 210 degrees, they don't, I mean, there's some issue with their cooling system that they need to address. But let's go ahead and go over inside the engine bay since I'm here. And this is the straight 6. Inline 6 is what I mean. It's an inline 6, the 4.0, come in plenty of Jeeps. It was the replacement of the old 258 4.2 liter in the old CJs, and this engine is a tried and true, easy to get parts for. Just go to a parts store, get about any part that you need for this engine at that store, and this engine's only got about 75,000 miles on it now, so it's still low mileage. I've only put 7,000 or 8,000 miles in the past 3 years, but I do love driving this thing. Now, under the engine, what I've done besides the cooling aspect aspect of it. It's got a snorkel on it. I put Jeep cables, the bigger upgraded Jeep cables. I think these are 2 gauge. The factory is 4 gauge. I put bigger cables. When I was doing the cooling stuff, I went ahead and replaced the hoses. It gives it a good look. It's got MSD ignition on it. I got the alternator rebuilt because I thought I was having an electrical problem. Turns out it was a electrical ground in the actual box. Somebody had messed with that box trying to put some aftermarket lights on it. I had to chase some electrical issues with this thing. That was a real headache, but I got that straightened out. And as far as the rest of it, I've got onboard air now. I've got a switch panel system. It's just a cheap Amazon one. I am in the process of putting another system in. This is an aux beam one that I got mounted there that I'll show you where I have it mounted on the interior a little later. These are the switches and relays for my electric lockers. I replaced the factory lockers. They're pretty weak, so they're the Eaton E-lockers. I think engine-wise, that's about it. I didn't want to steer too far from the original drivetrain just because it's got such low mileage on it, but I absolutely love the simplicity of this Jeep. Now, it does have an Optima red top over there. You can see that, but I mean, nothing wild under the hood, and it's been good to me after I got the electrical issues figured out with it. I mean, it has enough power with these 513 gears to turn these 37s. So let's go ahead and transition into the actual suspension. So this Jeep is riding on 37 1250 by 17 Falcon Wild Peak MTs, and these are the Pro Comp, I can't remember the series, these are the Pro Comp True beadlocks, and they come with, this is also a matte black, and I just took a wire wheel and wired that down because I like the offset look of the wheel. So they don't actually come with a polished ring like that, but I decided to make it polished. So those are the 37s. It has an older Fabtech lift on it. This is a long arm lift, and it's 4-linked in the front with Johnny joints. As you can see, well, you can see one of the joints right here, and I did have to replace all the balls, the joints inside the Johnny joints, because they were pretty worn out. And you can see there, it's actually a triangulated 3-link rear that has one Johnny joint on the truss up there on the 44. Now, the 44s are not factory 44s. Well, they are factory. They've just had a lot of work done to them. So the rear is the Dana 44 with the, I think it's the Dynatrack cover. I can't remember the name of it. So it's got a Dynatrack cover, and then it's got 513 motive gears, and then it's got Revolution shafts. I got Revolution shafts. It's trussed. It's got the Eaton E-locker in the rear. Now the front has got also a Dana 44 cover on there. It's trussed as well. As you can see, that's a JCR truss. It's also got the gussets, the C gussets, RCV shafts, 513 motive gears as well. It's got the Curry correct link steering, which I'm pushing it on this 8-inch lift. With that steering setup, I might have to do like a high steer eventually. Right now, I mean, it's drivable, it's okay, but it's not the best. It has JKS quick disconnects. I don't have an anti-rock or anything like that. Still have the factory sway bar on there, but it is JKS quick disconnects for when I'm on the trail. So I think that's pretty much it with the front axle. The only thing I'd like to do here within, you know, the relative future is put PSC hydro assist steering on it. I would love to be able to turn these 37s a little easier. I don't want to go full hydro for the road manners, but I would like to do hydro assist with it. And you can see here it does have the 8-inch springs from Fabtech. It's an older Fabtech lift. They don't even produce it anymore. But it is 4-link front, 3-link rear, and it's got the Fox 2.0 shocks all around. Nothing crazy, no coilovers or anything like that. It's still relatively mild in the suspension department other than the 8-inch lift. And I have some of the trails around here, they can get kind of deep with creek crossings, so I have routed the vent tubes for the front and rear axle. The vent tube for the rear axle goes over here to where the gas cap's at, and then the vent tube for the front axle is over here by my onboard air. It's up in the engine bay, so that should be plenty. Now let's go ahead and talk about the body. I did want to state that I do have Tom Woods drive shafts front and rear, with the rear having the 1350 joints, and I believe the front is the 1330. So I do have Tom Woods shafts which is nice because the U-joints in the original shafts needed to be replaced anyway. So I went ahead and done that. As you can see, and because of this skid plate, you can't see the transmission, the NSG 370 or the 241J, the stock Rubicon rock track transmission, but that is a 4-to-1 transfer case, and low range with these 513s is exceptional. But let's go ahead and talk about the body on this Jeep. Now the body is pretty much stock. I've had a lot of people wonder why I don't go ahead and put like some metal fenders on it and some armor and all that, and I want to keep this thing to where it's obviously it's not stock. It is nowhere near stock, but I want to keep it where it somewhat resembles a stock LJ, just modified. And that's what I've done with this. Because it has such lower miles and it is on the original drivetrain in a sense, I really don't want to go wild with it. If I had a 200,000 mile LJ and I really didn't care, then I might do something a little more wild. But it took me so long to find this Jeep, I don't want to go extreme with the body. But when you look at the body, you will notice some key things, and that would be the half doors. I love these half doors. It took me a while to find them. They're only about 3 or 4 months fresh out of the paint shop. Actually, probably about 2 months, and I absolutely love them. Now, these were originally green, and this was a Spice door card, so had the doors painted to match the Jeep, and then I painted this to match the interior of the Jeep. Got some paint custom match from a local body shop and painted those myself. Now these are the Bulldog sliders, and these are really cool. They almost make it, well they do, they make it to where it's like a hard door, but I really like the look of half door, hard upper, hard top. You do not see that too often on an LJ or TJ, really. It's just a rare combination. And they do have a slider window that's really nice, and it does have a lock mechanism right here where you can lock it. Somebody can't just slide it from the outside. And this, so far, I'm going to do a video just on these sliders a little later, and I'm trying to put some miles on them right now so I can give you guys a good review of these Bulldog hard uppers. But if you're interested, they're great quality. The only thing that I would say, might happen is you might have to adjust your hinges to match with the top. The driver's side wasn't really an issue, but the passenger side, I had to drop the hinges down just a tad, just adjust them a little bit to be able to get the door to line up perfectly. But now everything's good. I really like it. The top, I got it locked right now, but this is a Bulldog hardtop. I have a video specifically on this hardtop if you're interested in that. And I have a newborn, well, she's not a newborn anymore, she's 7 months old, and I really wanted something that I could easily take her in and out of the Jeep with, and this Jeep now is so much more accessible with that Bulldog hardtop. Let me show you guys real quick. I'll go ahead and unlock it and show you what I'm talking about, because when it comes to the body of this Jeep, that's one of the biggest benefits I've found, is being able to open these windows. Even if you don't have a child that you're putting in the rear, it is so nice to be able to just reach in here and get whatever you need to. And I've got stuff stacked up right there, but I usually have the car seat base. It's in my truck at the moment. It's right there. I just put my daughter in through the window, and they do have sliding windows, which is great for ventilation on this Jeep, because people in the back before, if you had a hard door or a soft door or soft zipper, put it down and then all the wind goes back there and it just gets trapped and swirled around. Now it vents really well. So the Bulldog hardtop, the Bulldog upper doors with the sliding mechanism, and you can see I do have a snorkel. This is the ARB Safari snorkel, and it is hooked up and routed and waterproof, so technically you could use it. I've never buried this thing deep enough to actually have to use the snorkel. I mean, this is my dream Jeep. I'm not going to go just absolutely abuse this thing. So I mean, it is great for intake air temperatures, I will say that, because I have a OBD reader and I can read different parameters of the Jeep, and the intake air temperatures are way better with a snorkel, because you got the fresh air going in and then to the air box, and it's not trapped under the hood where it gets pretty hot under there. So that's about it. I do have the roof rack mounts up there. So if I want to haul my kayak or a bicycle or snowboards, and you can see it does have a sunroof for the Bulldog hardtop, which is really cool. I'll go ahead and transition into the lighting since we're talking about the body. Oh, this right here, a lot of people ask me about these. These are limb risers. They're really cheap. It's a really cheap mod to do, and I recommend it because if you're out on the trail, limbs will just ride up these and then go over the top, and it's not beating on your windshield, scratching your windshield and possibly chipping it. So these are limb risers. If you're interested, just look them up on Amazon. I think it's only like 40 bucks. And this is a rigid 360. Honestly, for a floodlight, this light is absolutely crazy. Now the KC's up there, this is the KC Pro Gravity 6, and then I'm not sponsored by any of these people. I just happened to find their products used and got a good deal on them, so I threw them on the Jeep. There's another picture of the rigids. That's more of the KCs. I got the amber covers and then a couple of the custom KC covers on the ones that are still, you know, just the white lights. Now another thing is I can't remember, these are just cheap Amazon, like Povator, I can't even remember the name of them, but they're just cheap Amazon lights in the amber color, and they do okay. I mean, they're nothing special compared to those up there. Now these are just cheap 7-inch LED headlights. I'll try to put a lot of this stuff in the description below if you want to check it out on Amazon for yourself. Those are also just cheap corner lights from Amazon. I just think it gives it a nice smoked look and doesn't stand out like the factory orange. And this is a super winch. This is the SX12, 12,000 pound. It come with a cable line, but I put a synthetic line in it. And this is the Moto-Built stubby front bumper. And so far it's held up really well. I really like the stubby look of this front bumper. Now let's go around to the rear real quick. And this is what I might be changing here in the future. This is the Highline Off-Road. I really like this bumper, but it doesn't do too well with the top. I'll show you what I mean. Now when I want to get into the Jeep, I have to, you know, obviously unlock the top here and then pull out and then pull this all the way back, and it's a single action, which is nice, but it doesn't have where I can just open the actual bumper and then open the tailgate and then take the top, because the factory one, you put the top down and then you swing in the actual tailgate. Well, on Bulldog, you have to put the tailgate in and then swing the top down, which doesn't work with this tire carrier setup, so I have to finagle it a little bit to get it to close, and I'm probably going to change this out for a LOD or something along those lines. So I'm gonna have to change the rear tire setup for my sanity. And you can see here, I got a fire extinguisher. This is more of the interior. We'll get to the interior a little later. Here's another view of the Highline Off-Road rear bumper. I do have a 7-way because I set it up for trailer brakes for my little overland trailer. One more thing for the body that I'd like to mention is that whenever I got this Jeep, the fender flares were just pretty roached. Tons of rock chips in them, faded. I knew that I could take them off and, you know, paint them and make them look pretty good as I possibly could. But I found these Rough Countries, which are still the Rubicon 4-inch flare like I was wanting, and they look really good. I really wish they didn't put their logo right there, but that's just Rough Country. They put their logo on everything. So I wish it was a little more subtle and they didn't put their logo there. But these flares have been really nice. I've had them on the Jeep for about 1.5 years now, and they still look extremely good on this Jeep. And I'm not a big Rough Country person by any means, but I really like those flares. So if your flares look, you know, kind of trashy and you have a TJ and you're wanting to update them a little bit, go ahead and check out the Rough Country flares. They're not sponsored by them either. None of this I'm sponsored by, so this is just my honest opinion on those flares. Making my way to the inside of the Jeep, I've already shown you guys the half doors with the Bulldog sliders, which gives the interior a cool look, especially since that window is bigger than the factory full door window or the actual zipper window. They make those windows bigger for more visibility. Now, as you can see, there's not a whole lot going on in the interior. I mean, there's some, but nothing extravagant per se. I do have a Tuffy. I think this is the 10-inch. It does have the subwoofer cut out. That's the Tuffy. It's the entire console. It's metal. goes all the way to the stick with, I got a hand throttle on there. This is my Eaton e-locker switches. This is the Red Arc trailer brake controller. Down here you can see this is one of my S-Pod type setups for the switches. It's not an S-Pod though, it's a cheaper system. I'm in the process of putting that aux beam up there. You can see the speckled in the actual hardtop, which is really cool. It's called the gray, I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's like a burst that they do on the interior of their hardtops, which is nice. I don't have roll bar padding, which I kind of wish I did, but I eventually plan on putting a cage in this thing. But LJ roll bar padding is extremely hard to find if you guys have ever had to search for that. I do have a Tuffy glove box as well behind this. This is my tire deflation. This is just a little medical kit. Honestly, I probably should move these a little bit so it's easier for a passenger, but my wife doesn't complain about it, so I go with it. This is my ham radio. This is my GMRS radio. I have a phone mount here. Here's my phone cord. This is just a cheap Amazon double DIN radio. I hate it, so I'm not going to recommend it to any of you guys. If you're going to buy a double DIN, a capacitive double DIN, just go with a good brand like Pioneer, Sony, or Alpine. Don't cheap out with Amazon knockoffs. But the companies will try to send me double DINs to do videos on, to try to promote their product, but I'm so over just cheap Chinese double DIN radios that I'm like, no, I'm not gonna promote something I don't believe in. This is my RAM mount. I usually have a spare iPhone, that's just my old one. I put it right here, and I have an OBD reader that goes up in the OBD port, and I have all my gauges right here in front of me. And then I put my phone over there, which I showed you guys earlier. This is the GoPro mount. For filming videos, here's another look down here at this switch system, and that's about it. There's nothing too special up here. As you notice, I'm missing a visor on that side. It broke, so I need to fix that. These are the hook grab handles. That's the sunroof, which is really cool to have in a TJ. Go ahead and put this forward. You can see my clothes in a rag back there. Probably should have cleaned it up a little bit, but I haven't cleaned this Jeep since I got back from the Myrtle Beach Jeep Jam, which I had it pretty clean for that though. Still got the stock sound bar. The big thing is the rear. I wanted to be able to have some type of security in this Jeep. This is before I had a hard top, when I had a soft top on it especially. So I made this platform, which I really should have did a video on this, because a lot of people asked me about this platform. And now I made it out of 3/4 inch OSB and got some turnbuckles and just hooked it in the floor right there with a carabiner. And then I put another eyelet right there. And there's another eyelet under that toolbox in the inside of it, which secures the toolbox down, and it also helps secure the floor down. And there's an eyelet here because I put a lock around the toolbox if I'm ever worried about somebody trying to get into the toolbox. Here's my just fire extinguisher. I did have over here, it's not the power tank setup, but it's similar to it. It's the Precision power tank type setup, CO2 tank, and it's been awesome, but I couldn't fit it with the hardtop. I couldn't fit it here anymore, so I'm trying to figure out where I need to put that. So you can see there's another view. I still have the factory seats. One day I'd like to maybe get some Corbos and put in this Jeep. Now they do give you a light back here, an LED light, to be able to see in the back, which is nice, especially in old TJs. Lighting's always kind of dim. So, oh, these are they're the Max Track style boards. I don't even use them. They're just cool. I mean, 90% of Jeep guys that have these back here don't even use them, but they're there. I do know how to use them. I've used a set, I just haven't used those before. So I'll probably be taking those off on the other bumper because I literally have not used them. Now this Jeep, I wouldn't say I beat on the Jeep by any means, not compared to, you know, some of my buddies that just trash theirs. But I do use this thing. Like, I have no problem using this Jeep. It's just I got a 7-month-old daughter now, and I really don't have a lot of time. That's why really my YouTube videos have been a lot of interviews and just talking to you guys, because I can't travel as much as I used to. I can't do like trail days. Not that I really film too much trail wise anyways, because usually I'm driving and it's a lot. So I decided to go ahead and give you guys an update, or some of the major things that, you know, like I've done to it would be the half doors, the uppers, the hard top, all the lights. Oh, whenever I got it, one of the huge things was this Jeep, the front axle was bent, and turns out the rear axle was bent as well. And I don't know how it got there. The Carfax only showed a minor collision. I mean, the frame, it's been inspected by a body shop. The frame is fine. Everything was fine. It's just the front and rear axle had a slight tweak to the tubes. I don't know if this thing was, you know, possibly beat on a little bit before, or it's just one of those fluke things where maybe it was just the right impact on a light front collision. But why would the rear be a little tweaked as well? So the front and rear axles have been trued, and that's why they have the trusses and the gussets. And I took it to a specialty shop down in Chattanooga and paid a small fortune, but these axles should be perfectly capable with these 37s now, because I have a lot of money and time into these axles. So I really enjoy those, and I will show you guys this, my GMRS antenna. The more I look at it, the more I just keep finding stuff that I need to show you guys. But I really, this is an impromptu kind of video. I just decided I'd go out here and give you guys an update of my LJ. If you want, go ahead and look back at my other LJ video from a couple years back, and you'll see just what all I've done to it in that time frame. I'm sure I'm missing a lot, because I love working on this Jeep. It's just, I think the only thing I would, you know, dream Jeep wise that I'd rather have more, it would be probably a 392. A 392, no, well, not more than the LJ. I would like to have a 392 one day, but not more. The only thing more would be a triple black Laredo scrambler, a CJ8. That would be wild. I don't think I'll ever own one of those though, but especially with the price of them nowadays. So I decided to go ahead and grab an LJ while I could still afford that. And that's really, I don't know where I'm going to go from here. I've pretty much done everything that I'd like to do to this Jeep other than hydro assist, and then possibly doing a moto belt gas tank skid. I'd like to do that, and maybe change the rear bumper situation, because it's hard to put the glass down and close the door at the same time. But that's about all I have for this Jeep. If you would like to know more about something on it, just comment down below. And I mean, most everything on this Jeep I can tell you about, because it's just my pride and joy, really. I love this thing. So if you guys want to know more, make sure you leave a comment down below, and when it comes to Jeeps, keep it classic.